Welcome to the regular Cicero Town Board meeting, Wednesday, March 26th, 2025 at 6:30 PM. Please, if you would, silence your cell phones and note there are two exits in the rear of the room, one to my right. And if you would, please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's take a moment of silence to honor the 11-year-old Jeremiah Huff, a student at Gillette Road Middle School. May his memory be blessing, and may his family and friends and classmates and community find strength and peace during this incredible, difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
And if you notice, you'll see some green clovers up here. It's, the color green's become a symbolic of the tributes to Jeremiah's love for picking clovers. And sad part about it, he died on St. Patrick's Day. Our prayers and thoughts are with the family. Anyone wish to speak on any of the agenda items prior to the meeting? Okay, we'll start with our abstracts. Councilor Hogan.
Move for the adoption of a resolution approving abstracts number 11 dated 3/19/2025, abstract number 12 dated 3/26/2025.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain. Passed. Continuation of the comprehensive plan. We will start at 6:31. And we'll open up the floor if anybody would like to come speak on behalf or against. Comprehensive plan.
Okay. Thanks. Well, that has to be on too. Oh, I can use that one, so I don't need this one? Okay, thank you. My name is Jackie Forte. I live on Seneca Avenue, which is right up near Lakeshore Yacht Club. I see the first tee of the golf course out the window of my house. I've lived there for 27 years, and prior to that, I grew up in the village of North Syracuse. And I've lived here most of my life. I lived away for about 10 years after college and came back to raise my kids here. I submitted a letter that I'm going to give you guys that I gave to Mike, and I appreciate that he handed it off to the town to address a lot of the questions that I had because I couldn't be in attendance at the last meeting. And a lot of the questions that I had about the development of the lakefront were answered in terms of the people who already have existing property there. So that was taken care of. And I feel like after listening to the town board meeting, because I did listen to it online, that if you have existing property and you own a home on the lake, you don't really have to worry a whole heck of a lot about changing your property or bringing it up to any new standard or any environmental anything going on. And I did look up the laws that the gentleman from the Oneida Lake Association was talking about, and it looks like they might exempt Oneida Lake from that 100 feet all the way around thing with the DEC because the lake is so big. So that may not be a problem going forward. So I felt really good at the end of that meeting, at least those things were addressed, but I didn't feel like everything was addressed that I had put in the letter. So I wanted to make sure that I came and gave you a copy of the letter today so the whole letter can be put into your record, which I'll do. First and foremost, to start out, I wanted to thank Supervisor Argano, because living in that neighborhood for 27 years, one of the things that we've contended with is the traffic from the golf course. And one of the things that we contend with every year is the golf carts on the road, which is illegal. They don't have horns, they don't have lights, they're not authorized to be on the road, and they zip up and down the road a lot. And Mike's the first supervisor who's actually, after making attempts to talk to them, which every year the police department will talk to them, he actually put up some signs that say golf carts are not allowed on the road. And then he actually had them lowered when they were really high and people were saying they didn't see them from the golf cart. So that was helpful. But that's like one example of what happens when you commercialize an area and there aren't strict rules put into place as to how the area can be used and how it cannot be used. And even with the signs, we still have golf carts, very often with somewhat intoxicated golfers driving up and down the road, people hanging off the back doing God only knows what. So it's an issue, and I could see it just getting worse as that area gets commercialized. So when you were talking about the water overlay district, it really seemed that it came down to just these parts of the lake where I live and my neighbors live, and maybe a few other parts down a little bit further, maybe near Williams Beach. So in thinking about all those things, I asked myself several questions. One, which you said wasn't addressed, is are these going to be at some point a bunch of Airbnbs and Verbo properties being used by people who buy them for investment and rent them out? I hope not. And then as far as the access to the lake, having lived on Long Island for 10 years, there's areas that are paid for by town taxpayer money that are used by people who live in the town. And that was the case actually growing up in North Syracuse when you had to go to Kennedy Park Pool. If you wanted to take swimming lessons and utilize that pool, you had to go register with the town. You had to get a special bracelet or badge for your car. And that's how you got use of that property. A lot of people in the town express that they want use of the lake. And they seem to be willing to pay for that. If there's going to be some maintenance to certain parks or areas, maybe boat launches or whatever, we're going to have to maintain those. But I would like to know, when you do the comprehensive plan, is this going to be for the people in the town of Cicero? Or is this going to be for anybody in the county, anybody who might come from anywhere to use? Or is it going to be, this is our town beach, this is our town pool, this is our town boat launch? We pay the taxes to maintain this, we're allowed to use this. And to get that every year, we get an annual pass or whatever it is. Because like if you go up to Williams Beach right now, I rarely used Williams Beach when I raised kids here because there was always a bunch of people there that I don't know if they lived in the town or didn't live in the town, but there wasn't a lot of room there to really set yourself up and do much. So that's something that I think you're going to need to think about. I also was thinking about LoSo and using that as maybe your pilot. How's LoSo going? Is the property completely rented? Have you seen any increases in traffic with that? Any issues? I know that there's separate issues with the water there because I guess people have deed access to that may make it a little bit different. I also was going through everything at the last meeting, and you didn't talk much about schools. I'm the president of the North Syracuse Education Foundation, which is a nonprofit that raises money for our school district for things that aren't covered in the budget. And it seems like the schools and like how are we going to handle the population increase that could be brought in by all these additional residences, that really wasn't addressed at all. And I don't know if that has to be in the comprehensive plan. Like, where would these new schools be? Would we need new schools? Do you think these are going to be families with children? Are these going to be older people? I just didn't see anything in there. As far as the area by my house goes, I'm not looking forward to having it be a construction zone for a really long time. But that's me, and that's anybody. I talked to somebody who was living near the South Bay Road Bridge, and they were saying that when they were first taking it down at night, that's all they heard all night, and they couldn't sleep. I'm not looking forward to my beautiful, quiet, peaceful neighborhood being disrupted for potentially years. What I would say to you is if something like that happens there, it's very important that there's a timeline put on that. That PUD, when it was originally brought forward by Guy Hart, was supposed to have a 5-year cap. The whole thing had to be done in 5 years. And there was a meeting that we had where it was kind of slipped in there, where he said, well, it might want to be done in phases over a period of time. I don't know if that's appropriate for the community as a whole, and if, like, what impact is that going to have on the people who live there every day and are dealing with this? It's a constant battle between anybody who's building, I guess, right? If you're having building near your house, whether it be a new house or a big development, you're going to have building. There's going to be dirt, there's going to be noise. We pay a lot of taxes up there because we do pay for waterfront community. When the town reassessed, I don't have lake rights on my deed. My house, my property was never deeded with that when it was chunked off by the original owners. The people on my street who had lake rights, those lake rights up the road were taken away after, I believe, a court proceeding years ago, because people were going down and using the property of the people who actually owned the property on the water. And so those lake rights on some of the houses near my home were removed. But yet we pay for this waterfront community. During the time that this construction is going to be taking place, is that going to be disrupted? Is that going to increase our taxes? Is that going to decrease our taxes? I have a lot of questions about that. And I think people need to think about that. I think that the infrastructure for the roads, those roads up there are narrow. They're barely 2 cars wide. You can't really take 2 like SUVs and go past each other at the same time. I can tell you with the trees and everything that were taken down, we had an exceptionally harsh winter this year, but there was like nothing holding that blowing snow off the lake this year. And our street, Seneca Avenue, got inundated with so much more snow. Even after the town would come through, I had to call you a couple times to say, hey, the street's full again. And I'm like one of the few streets around here that has 8 inches of snow right now. So there's things that are going to be, problems coming up that we don't necessarily anticipate ahead of time, but are definitely things that we are going to need to work on. I can understand why every single person in the town of Cicero wants access to the lake. I think that maybe what you can do in the interim is to try to tell people in Cicero, how do they get on the lake now? Because I think a lot of people don't know where there's public access on Lake Oneida Shores or other places. So that might be helpful in the interim to maybe publicize to the community, how do we get out on the lake? How do we enjoy this natural resource that we have? Everything else that I have in here, I'm not going to go through line by line because there's a lot of questions, and they're things I've thought about that weren't addressed in the comprehensive plan. I think that everybody who worked on the plan worked very hard. I think it's unfortunate that years ago when this town was developing, no one did this, because you almost can't go back and undo some of the things that don't look so great right now. And I understand that those things are going to have to go forward. So for right now, I think that's all I'd like to say about that. I did want to say one more thing. I do watch these meetings online. It would be helpful if whoever broadcasts this could make that screen visible to the people online when you're watching it, because you don't see that screen. And then my final comment is unrelated to the comprehensive plan. In terms of the town board in general, I found it very disturbing, all the things that were going on in our community regarding issues of harassment in this town hall. And I take those kind of things very seriously. And I understand that you were supposed to do an investigation, and it was very public for a long time, and now it's very quiet. And that can be very damaging to a person's reputation in the community, especially if the charges put against a person are found to be unfounded. So I know that because of confidentiality and having worked in business, you can't always talk about these things publicly. But I do think that every member of this board has a responsibility and an ethics, an integrity, responsibility to close off any final findings in that situation and make those known publicly, so that when people do go to the polls to put people back in your seats, they're operating from a place of knowledge and accurate facts versus what may or may not have been fiction. So I would ask you all to make sure that before our next elections, if possible, that that issue is resolved in a more public way so that voters can make a conscious decision as to who they want sitting in those seats up there. Thank you.
Sorry, anyone else?
Hi, Jay Reardon. I just have some comments, some clarifications. Three of them are really quick regarding the comprehensive plan. Number one isn't exactly regarding the comprehensive plan, but I'm going to suggest it now anyway. I emailed all of you about Mike Bacallo, who's not here, being appointed to the Central New York Regional Transportation Authority, or Centro. That's really helpful. I mean, to have a town board member on that authority. I understand from the appointment process that went on via the Onondaga County Ways and Means Committee that the same appointment was made last year, and the governor, for whatever reason, didn't put it through. And so is there anything that us people in the town here can do to help that go through? Maybe you can discuss it in item number 13, if there is anything, which is your town board discussion item, because I mean, I think it'd be really great. Because Mike's obviously very dedicated to the town and would be a great representative on that authority. Number two is directly with the comprehensive plan. There is the Orange Triangle area around Mudmill, McKinley, Sneller. It was previously mixed residential. Now that's been reclassified as agricultural, and it's now a green triangle, not an orange triangle. Could you give some sort of explanation of why that happened? And secondly, is that change permanent? Maybe Kate?
The change was made due to public comment and concerns relative to the mixed use that was previously
Mixed
shown on the
residential,
map. Well, yeah, there was, yeah, right. It would have allowed some commercial and residential use together. So it was reverted back to what it currently is, agricultural. That future land use map is guidance.
Yeah.
It's not a zone change. It's not changing anything currently. So whatever uses will be allowed in the ag district going forward, they'd be permitted in if in the current zoning now that it's agriculture. So there's really no change. It was basically on comments received from the public.
And that makes a lot of sense. Was part of the reasoning for changing it, or not changing it, but keeping it agricultural? Getting the sewers up there was a huge difficult problem, right?
Well, yeah, well, there aren't any.
Right, exactly, right. So, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, good job to the town board for that. And last question here. It's pretty easy to go down a rabbit hole of real estate law regarding eminent domain. And in particular, there was a recent Supreme Court denial about a case that's very significant and I think is very applicable to what might happen around here. It was the Bowers versus Oneida County Industrial Development Agency decision. Mr. Karp knows all about this, I think. And that was an attempt to overturn 2005's infamous Kelo versus New London eminent domain decision. So the point is that it is probably more likely than it was 2 weeks ago that eminent domain will be used by OCEDA, perhaps, to acquire properties, or maybe it's not. And I guess it might be helpful for the community to get some guidance from this board about the likelihood of eminent domain being used going forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Come on up, Michael.
Thank you.
Christopher Daniel, 8081 Pickett Lane. Happened to be at the planning symposium put on by Onondaga County today. I sit on the zoning board of appeals. And one of the things that came up in one of the sessions about comprehensive plans that I hadn't really thought about here, talk about infrastructure. So, sewers, water, all that kind of stuff. And really, I didn't see much in the plan, but I never really thought about it as somebody said, schools are really part of the infrastructure to some degree, where this influx of population and as we build up, have we partnered with the schools to make sure there's the capacity and that we're making our plans together so that as these things occur, that our children that move into the area, both currently and then the ones that move in, the resources are going to be adequate to meet that growth. So I don't know if there's been any conversation with the school board or anything like that yet. And it's kind of late in the game, I guess, but it just occurred to me that that might be something to revisit and dig into a little deeper before we sign off on everything. Thanks.
Thank you.
Actually, it's not about this, so I'll go ahead.
Okay. Anyone else? About the comp plan? No? Okay. We will adjourn this until April 9th, which is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 at 6:30 PM at the Cicero Town Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
A continuation of the public hearing, consider changes to chapter 210 of the town code. Purposes of changes would be establish a waterfront overlay district along the lake, south shore of Oneida Lake. And we'll open up that public hearing at 6:51 PM. Anybody?
Can I just make a couple
Sure,
comments
sure,
prior? I know there's been a lot about the waterfront overlay district online. I know it's attracted a lot of attention. There's just a few things I want to say. I'm trying to stay out of the online discussion because I feel like I go down a rabbit hole. I think there's a bit of conflation between the overlay district and a lot of talk that we've had about a large project that has not been proposed, that's been talked about. Ms. Forte alluded to at the Lakeshore Village. I mean, we did hear from Mr. Hart previously. He's here tonight. We know this is an idea. It hasn't been proposed, but the passage of the waterfront overlay district obviously does not guarantee approval of that project or any component of it. In order to build that as envisioned would require not just the regular site plan review everybody has to go through whenever you build anything commercial, but numerous special use permits that are part of the waterfront overlay district. And I'll get back to that in a second. And anything built along the shoreline requires DEC and U.S. Army Corps of Engineer approval. And then there's numerous other aspects with traffic studies and everything. So there seems to be this perception that approval of this, it guarantees approval of something else. And that's not the case, which leads me into what I wanted to say next, because again, the perception seems to be this makes that project, which isn't even a project or proposal right now, easier. But in reality, if you look at the regulations, the waterfront overlay district makes it harder to build in that area. Okay. If you look at it, a bed and breakfast needs a special use permit. Does the bed and breakfast in the rest of the town need a special use permit? No. Hotels, special use permit. If someone wants to build a hotel, another one right next to Gander Outdoor, or whatever it's called now, do you need a special use permit for that? No. It's true for bars, restaurants. If you're building anything in the rest of the town, you don't need to worry about view sheds. You don't need to worry about a vegetated riparian buffer. And frankly, I'm sure Mr. Hart would rather not have to worry about that if he does build his project. This overlay district protects in the area around the lake and makes it easier or better for us to protect it. It makes it better for the residents in the area, and it makes it harder for people to build these things. And I can't address everything Ms. Forte said, but access to the lake, that can mean a lot of different things. But I'll tell you one type of access to the lake that I think a lot of us would like to have that I don't really think we have right now. I'd like some more dining options in the lake. I'd like to be able to go to Boreo's, which, I think, and I've seen heads nodding like, wouldn't it be nice to be able to go to someplace like Boreo's and sit on the deck and have a burger or a beer, if you don't drink, a soda or an iced tea? That's access to the lake too. That's not necessarily getting in the water. It's not using a boat launch, but that's access. I grew up, my parents always had a boat. I'm not a boater, not really a fisherman. My dad was, but I still like to be around water. Lots of people like to be around water. So I'd like to be able to walk down a pier. That's access to the lake. And I don't think we'd want to charge out of town people for that. And obviously we wouldn't want to for a restaurant, but when we say we want people to have access to the lake, I know there was this crazy idea that we were going to take a walking path through people's land. Obviously, I think we all know that's not going to happen. But access to the lake can mean a lot of different things. And some of it, yes, would have a burden on the lake itself and on residents. And it's interesting what you said about the down on Long Island. My parents used to have a place in Florida. So Florida requires beach access, but in some of the really nice areas, the beach access it's a tiny little path with about 4 parking spaces and a sign about this big that if you don't drive past at 5 miles an hour, you won't see. So the town's kind of designed the beach access down there to make it almost impossible for anyone that doesn't live there to use. Hopefully that's not what it's like on the island. But access to the lake can mean a lot of different things, and there's probably ideas that none of us here have thought of. But when I think of access to the lake, I think of being able to get some ice cream and walk down a pier or something because I got 3 little kids, or be able to have a drink and a dinner looking at the water. And this does help promote that. But again, by making it harder to build restaurants, to making it harder to build these things, it helps preserve and protect the area around the lake. And I wanted to say that. I should have said it at the last meeting, because again, I think people think this gives developers a free for all. It gives the exact opposite. Again, maybe he'll get up and speak, maybe he wouldn't, but I guarantee if Mr. Hart was to design this overlay district, it would look a lot different. Or maybe it wouldn't exist. Maybe he would just have us change the zoning so we can build whatever he wants. But that's not what the Comprehensive Plan Committee wanted. That's not what we up here want. Okay, the lake is important. I don't live on it. Okay, and I don't live near it, but I know it's part of Cicero, and it is the thing that distinguishes us so much from the towns around us. And we need to preserve and protect it. And as people, water attracts people. So as people look to build things around the lake, we want to make sure that we don't do it haphazardly, that we make sure that people's views are protected. We make sure the environment's protected to the greatest extent possible. And that's the reason behind this. And so I appreciate you listening. I just wanted to say that because I just think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what this is about. So thank you. Sure.
Talked to the Army Corps of Engineers before because of different things that have gone on in our neighborhood.
Come on up, Jackie.
Yeah, maybe you might as well. Otherwise, if anyone's watching online, they're going to want to know what you said.
I've spoken to the DEC and the Army Corps of Engineers for different things over the years. I've been there 27 years, right? And what they'll tell you is their job is not to tell a person whether or not they can build something there. If the town is okay with them building something there, they're okay with it. What they will do, though, is they will tell them how to do it within the eyes of the law, whatever the
Sure.
rules are. So he's like, we're not going to tell them they can't do this or they can't do that, except maybe if it was on a wetland or something, or there was a protected endangered species there that you can't kill off or something. But they're going to find a way, was the guy's exact words. People who might remember the street behind mine, you never remember Michigan, I guess. It goes down and it goes right along the water. There's like a guardrail there and then a steep cliff. And one year it rained really bad and the water washed it all into the lake and the road caved in. And they came in and they put in these giant steel pillars, sort of, and they backfilled it with these big hunks of rock and they stabilized the whole waterfront right there. And then they put the paving back and made the road, so we could use it still. So they'll find a way to do whatever someone wants. They'll just make sure that it's done correctly. So they're not there to stop any project.
No, I understand that. I guess my point was it's just another level or layer of
Yes.
regulatory compliance. Again, they don't just get to build whatever they want. There's a bunch of
Correct.
hoops. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
But thank you for,
But they said we'll find a way to help people do what they want to do. They're just going to have to do it the way we tell them.
right, comply with the environmental
Yeah.
protection laws. Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone like to come up and speak on behalf or against?
My name's Linda Ziotto, and I've lived out here 60 years. And I just want to say, I agree with what you said about the vibrancy on the lake. We used to have the restaurants and active life down on the lake that we could all enjoy, and I would like to see that come back. And I'm hoping that the water overlay district would maybe encourage that so that more people can enjoy the views of the lake and enjoy life again. I remember going out to dinner with my husband all the time down on the lake, going dancing. We don't have any of that anymore. So that's all I just wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, I'm Linda Diana. I got up last time. I'm from Bridgeport, live in the town of Cicero. And after I spoke last time, I happened to hear some comments that if I wanted to say something about the waterfront, I probably should buy a house on the lake. I'm not offended by that, but I don't think people should say things like that. I really think it's important, as I said before, the vibrancy of our town of Cicero. Life has to come back to it. And I really think that projects like this overlay, not a project, but the overlay does make it very much so important so that the quality, if something is going to get built, quality is done and not anything that's going to take away. It's going to protect the land. It's going to protect the housing. And I'm also in agreement with the woman said that there should be a time frame on building. People live there. But that's my opinion. And I think I'm the silent majority that feel that the vibrancy really needs to be back there. You got Oreos is closed. What's the other big place over there? Waisaki's is closed. You know, everything down that way is shut down. So there isn't a lot of places to go and dine or to, and even the small houses that were on Lake Shore that were camps, people built up. You can't even driving by. You don't see the lake. So we don't get to see that beauty. And I think that building, if people are going to build, that overlay, from what I looked at and articles that I read about it, is going to protect the beauty, the quality and the safety of the lake. And that's my opinion. I just wanted to voice that because I should be allowed to voice my opinion, even if I don't live on the lake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. And I just want to share with you that I don't live on the lake either. And I think everybody has a right to their opinion as to how this should be done and their opinions on the lake in the town of Cicero. You live in the town of Cicero. So I think, I would never entertain somebody saying that because I completely disagree. And I think everybody has a right to their opinion. So I appreciate you standing up. Totally agree.
Good evening. My name is Ed Segier. I live on Van Antwerp Drive in Cicero on the water. And just similar to the last few people, I am absolutely in favor of the overlay district. I think just to kind of comment on what they said in terms of bringing back some life to the area, having those abilities to go to restaurants, enjoy different, uses that are going to happen from that and the growth from that and just kind of bring Cicero back to a great place that it used to be at, both from a residential and just great area again. So absolutely in favor of it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, with that being said, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Guy Hart. I live on Broadhead Drive. I wasn't going to speak actually, but I decided I will because eventually I'll, excuse me, probably be back up here speaking a lot in the future. So I might as well say a few things that I think are important. There are a lot of things. Yes, if I had my way, I would prefer if everyone here would just pass a special zone change that lets me do whatever I want and you just trust me. But since I know you're not going to do that, none of you guys, and believe me, everyone, I'll tell you, everybody talks about the division of these guys. They all agree on one thing. I would say every single person up there, I've gotten to know very well. And the way I would characterize each of you having one thing in common, and it is, and I'd say for every one of you, and shake your head no if you think I'm wrong, trust but verify. I think every one of you kind of lives by trust, but I've got to know all of you. and there's some things that we want to do on the lakefront. And you're like, you know what, guy, I trust you, but I'm going to verify. And that's why you did this. I don't like the riparian buffer. I wish you would take it out. I think the DEC and the Army Corps can handle that. You didn't. That's okay. I don't like your architectural standards without any vinyl allowed. I think it's going to be a pain in the neck, but I also understand why you did it. It's going to add construction costs, substantial construction costs. Other developers have said it to you, but I understand why you did it. There's a beautiful hotel up in Clayton, the Harbor Hotel. It's mostly vinyl. There's another beautiful hotel in Canandaigua that's mostly composite material that couldn't tell if it's wood or not if you knocked on it. We can survive without having to do vinyl, but it's a big deal. And there's a lot of things we can survive with. But this, to even say it was a compromise isn't fair, because this is an overlay district like I've seen up and down the East Coast everywhere I've ever gone where there's waterfront. I mean, Colliers, I don't know if they're here, but this is what you get on the Jersey Shore or on Lake Norman and North Carolina, et cetera. So you guys went out and bought that, and it cost you a lot of money, and you're keeping me honest. Trust but verify. And so, yeah, I think you should pass it. But the reason I think you should pass it is because, and the last thing I'll say, we came in 2017, we closed on Lakeshore. And the reason we closed is because a guy named Ron Tascarella, who was the chief banking officer at Pathfinder, called and said, they haven't made payroll in 3 months at Lakeshore, and we aren't going to cover them anymore. So you either come in and close, or the club does. So we closed on the real estate. We spent about $2.5 million in the ensuing 6 months, and we reopened the club. And in late 2018, 19, when did you start, Mike?
Me too.
22? So in 19 or 18, I think it was Bill Meyer we met with and talked about this project. And we were starting to put together a plan for it. And we had talked about some canals and things like that. Turned out to be cost prohibitive and a bad idea, so we dropped it. But I'm giving you this histrionics because to remind everybody of what has happened. So we got to the end of 2019 and we were starting to put together a package, and we were going to make an application in the spring of 2020. Then I woke up and it was 2022, right? And then interest rates went up to 8% and so on and so forth. And you guys, once Mike, you came in, and again, I see fighting, but I see you guys always in lockstep, voting the same way and doing the same thing. And you decided to do this, and this started getting talked about a couple of years ago. And so I just wanted to remind everybody what the true history is. And everybody knows that we want to get a project moving forward here, and that there's a lot of things afoot. But I just thought it was important to get up and say a few of those things. The last thing I'll say was a few years back in Fayetteville, we were going to build a beautiful building. I'll be happy to share it with Judy or Ms. Forte. Anybody wants to see, it was a beautiful building we were going to build in Fayetteville. The planning board chairman, Jane Rice, who is an urban planner and a lifelong Democrat, her and the rest of the board voted unanimously for us to build this $19 million, 77 unit mixed use, ground floor retail and shop space, all this stuff with luxury apartments above it. Beautiful building. Like I said, happy to show it to anybody who wants. So the planning board passed it unanimously. The town board killed it unanimously because we had 156 parking spaces and the code called for 172. Overlay districts are a pain in the neck for real estate developers, but I'd rather know what it is I have to do than spend the kind of time and effort we did, because there's a car wash opening on the corner of High Bridge and Genesee and Fayetteville, and I own the property. I'm going to tell you, there's a oil change across the street. There's a gas station next to that, and Fayetteville has their own little slice of Mattydale, and that's not a good thing. So I applaud you for doing something with your comprehensive plan and your overlay district. I wish I could have written the overlay district because it would be a little bit different. But I thought I'd say a few things and explain where I really stand so that people aren't wondering. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Come on up.
I don't have the answer to this question, but maybe you should find it out. Boreo's was a successful family business that was always packed. I could sit on my back deck on Thursday night. I could listen to the music every Thursday as that place was rocking. It had business all winter long from the snowmobilers. They sold to Stones. They opened it up. In my opinion, the menu was too expensive for the area and too limited. The atmosphere changed. The Boreos left. And the business died. Waisaki's, great restaurant from the time I was a kid. A couple young couples came in to reopen it. The Education Foundation held one of our galas there. They could not hang on. They closed. Your restaurant too at the club went public for a little while. I don't know how it did, if it was super successful or not, but I think you need to ask yourself, if you do open any type of food business or entertainment business or dance place or whatever, what does this town require for it to be successful? What is the price point? What does the menu look like? What does the atmosphere look like? And I'll also say this. I don't know what happened to the world after COVID, but you can't get food any place in Onondaga County after 10 o'clock at night unless you go to Denny's. And I know this because I don't have kids at home anymore and I'm single and I'll be out with friends and we cannot find a place to go get anything for a late night bite. So before we build a whole bunch of great places, which would be cool, I don't have a problem with like walking across the street and getting dinner and walking home. That would be awesome, as long as I don't have to park or don't have to walk past a 3-story parking garage. What would sustain itself here? And I think that that's something that obviously whoever bought Boreo's didn't do a very good job of figuring out, and the people who bought Waisaki's didn't do a very good job of figuring out. So before any business would be hoping to start itself up out there, I think you need to figure out, what do the people in Cicero want? I know they sure love Chick-fil-A. And you know, what's going to do well out there? Otherwise, you're just going to have a bunch of empty businesses.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the meeting or close the public hearing at 7:12 PM. And if you want to do a.
Sure. Move the adoption of the resolution that the proposed changes to chapter 210 of the town code is a type 2 action for the purposes of seeker compliance. Involves no permit granting authority outside of the town, is not going to have a negative impact on the environment, and does not require the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Vote no or abstain? Passed.
Move the adoption resolution adopting the proposed changes to chapter 210 of the town code, establishing a waterfront overlay district to be known as local law number 3 of 2025.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain? Passed. The public hearing will open up the public hearing for the addition of the property known as Lions Run as attached in Exhibit A, Town of Cicero Consolidated Decorative Underground Lighting District. At this time, I wish to waive the reading of the legal notices posted and advertised at the proper time.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Kate, you want to speak on behalf of this a little bit? The map, I don't have the map.
Okay, this came about because I got a phone call from someone who lives in this neighborhood and they wanted streetlights. So I explained the process. She went through and got signatures, and I don't know, is Lindsay here? Okay, so I don't know if anyone's come from the neighborhood. I did notify her and it was publicly done. So anyways, this was a resident request and she went around and got 51% of the signatures. And what will happen is if you all approve it, then we'll notify National Grid. I mean, they've given us, the proposal for it and it will go, they'll build the streetlights and then it will go on, that neighborhood will go into that, lighting district and get billed on their taxes every year.
Thank you. Open up the public hearing at 7:15 PM. Would anybody like to come speak on behalf or against this? And if not, will anybody up here have any comments?
I have a couple questions. We can close the public hearing first.
I'll say that this connects to the neighborhood next door that already has streetlights from several years ago. So I'm glad somebody did go through because it is very dark driving through there at night.
Has them.
They will be considered, well, because any new development now requires streetlights. So I'm
That was
glad.
Wish they required that before my development.
Well,
That was one of my questions. Do we now require, because there was a little bit of a gray area in the law the way it was when I first got on the board. Have we fixed, I don't recall if we
Still
fixed
the
that.
same.
It's still the same? All right, I'll take a look at that.
Wait,
yeah.
so we don't require that yet?
it's required.
Oh, okay. I,
But the planning board is not mandated to require it, right?
It says.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of if I remember
Wait.
correctly, it's a matter of interpretation. It's like there's a list of things. And so the way I read it, they have to, but
so maybe we need to
yeah, we'll look
fix
at that.
that.
Because I think a
Sounds good.
previous chair prior to the current chair did not read it that way.
Yeah, we should probably make that very clear
Yeah.
because mine definitely needs it.
Well-
So my question is, I don't know if it's, maybe it shouldn't be within the public hearing, but it is regarding this. What constitutes the neighborhood? Do you know what I mean? So like my street is Touch and Lydia. These are a bunch of different streets. What constitutes 51% of the neighborhood?
Sorry, it could be whatever you decided when she came forward, we took the whole Lions Run first part of the development, because why do half of it? And then someone comes up and says, why didn't you do my half? And then you do it in two pieces. So we thought it should be done as a full neighborhood. So
It's
that's a
whatever-
huge, where you're talking about is a huge neighborhood, but I think you would establish kind of logical boundaries is my thought. But I don't think we want to do where we're just doing like 3 lights on one street. You know, we want to give
Well,
a
yeah, I was
little
gonna say
center of
grid,
mass.
I'm assuming grid requires a certain scale in order to,
I don't believe so, not that I know of.
That would be extraordinary
Grid is
expensive.
doing, no, they're doing quite well on this. Yeah, don't feel sorry for them.
oh, I don't feel, I'm just saying it'd be a big
So,
expense to put it in for one street. I don't feel bad for them at all either.
Yeah.
No offense to anyone here who works for grid,
Yeah,
but I
right.
feel bad for them. Do we know what the cost, because I actually had a resident ask me, because she, who actually happens randomly to live on the same street as Counselor Hogan. And I don't think the cost is going to matter to her, but do you know what the cost roughly is per house for this?
So it's a little hard to judge the last 2 years because we had the LED upgrade and we had elevated prices.
Right.
So next year's tax bill would probably be similar, but I think it's around 100, the most expensive is around $120 a year. And we're going for is the decorative poles. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's the standard pole's pretty plain. So we are asking for the decorative pole that costs a little bit more money. And then the Highland Park B with the right illumination. So, you know, we had a lot of problems with it. They were too bright when they upgraded. So, but anyways, it's about 120. And then people who are in the overhead lighting district, the older neighborhoods with wires, I think they only pay like $20 a year, you know, so there's a big variation and it changes every year. It depends on what the bill is, and then the tax assessor, it's divided up between all the people who are
Okay.
in that district.
But figure $10 a month for the nicer ones.
I'm sorry.
Figure $10 a month roughly right now for the nicer ones. Give or
I
take.
think so. Don't quote me just on.
Oh, no, I'm
on-
just looking for a ballpark. so I can
prices,
answer the
yeah.
question.
And
But
does
I
it
think-
change every year, even after they put them in, is what you're saying? Or does it change based on the year that they start?
Oh, well, so this is how National Grid does so well, that if the cost stays the same. So National Grid pays for the entire installation, and then you are paying for maintenance and the construction and stuff over the
Right.
years, but it never ends, so it just goes on in
Like the
perpetuity.
throwback.
So yes. So in 20 years, even if everyone's really paid off and you should just be paying for the electricity and the maintenance, you're still paying that exact same charge.
Like 90 was supposed to pay for itself
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
and then be done.
Well, if we owned it, that's the way it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out this lighting thing. It's very complicated. It's,
Yeah.
And not to belabor, but just for the edification of anyone who's in, because we've spent a lot of time since I've been on the board talking about this. When I got on the board, we had neighborhoods that had been built 20 years previously that were paying for streetlights the entire time that did not have streetlights, like Alabama Path, like over off Backstretch. They were paying the whole time and didn't have them.
oh.
And also neighborhoods that had streetlights that were not paying.
There's imperfections in the taxing. I mean, not just in the lighting districts, but in other things that I think everybody tries to clear up as soon as someone sees something that's
Yeah.
not correct. Yeah.
And,
way down
and
the-
to be fair, I'm not pointing the finger at anyone here because I think we fixed all that, but it was
Yeah.
shocking to get on, to find out that that had gone on that long.
Since we're requiring these in new developments, are we always considering the decorative underground, or is that specific to the request of the resident asking for it?
Well, I think, yes, we were just, actually, the supervisor and I we were having conversations. The National Grid went to only like 5 options of poles, and the only 2 that even make sense. So there's a carriage, which is the one without
Well,
glass.
That's the one that's in my neighborhood.
Right, with the straight pole. So we're going with the Highland. It's a slightly more decorative and with the decorative pole. The pole's the thing that really makes the most difference. And I think everybody agrees. And the more
Did the
people,
planning board get to see that though?
I'm not sure they asked that question.
We go with the decorative post because these neighborhoods they're nice neighborhoods. They're all becoming,
Right.
the standards are becoming
I,
better.
I
You
would
wanna
think
put
in
the-
most
You want
places.
to put the
Well,
newer
that's
ones
why I
in there.
asked. I want to make, so we are in new developments using that pole moving forward, so the town
I
will
think
be
we need to make that
consistent.
clear.
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
that's something we need to make clear in policy. I think that's what we're finding out right now.
Okay. I mean, we can't specify, well, we'll have to figure out how to write that up. You wouldn't want to specify a specific option and hard code that in the code, because then if that option goes away, yeah, we'll have to figure out the best. Okay. There's gotta be a way to
It's
do
for
it.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. Great.
You guys are good?
Yeah.
Okay, we closed the public hearing at what, 7:22? Or did I already close it?
No, you
Okay,
didn't.
7:22. Okay, move for the adoption resolution that the application by petitioner seeking to add the properties of Lions Run as listed in Exhibit A to the Town of Cicero Consolidated Decorative Underground Lighting District is an unlisted action for the purpose of seeker compliance. The proposed action does not require permit granting authority outside the town. Granting the application will not have any negative impact on the environment and does not require preparation of a draft environmental impact statement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The decision that the town board, having heard the consideration by the application by petition seeking to add the properties of Lion Run as listed in Exhibit A to the Town of Cicero Consolidated Decorative Lighting District is hereby granted as requested to be known as local law number 4 of 2025.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye. I'll read the next one since Mr. Buchanan.
Do we know, Kate, when they'll start working on that?
It'll be this year.
Well,
It'll be this summer,
It'll be
though, right?
this year?
All right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I'll do Buchanan.
I'll do this last one here. Move the adoption resolution to approve and accept the properties of Lions Run as listed in Exhibit A to Town of Cicero Consolidated District under the Lighting District.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Wish to vote no or abstain, passed. Go ahead.
Move the adoption resolution approving the rehire of Jonathan Ketchum as a seasonal parks laborer at a pay rate of $17 an hour to start Monday, March 31st, 2025. Budget code 00171100105000.
Second,
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
move for the adoption of a resolution to approve steel sales state contract PC 69053 for 4,500 feet, various sized drainage pipe, couplers, tees, et cetera, in the amount of $25,000 from budget code 003-5110-4554-0000.
Second.
Discussion, All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption of resolution to approve Crossroads Highway State Contract Number PC 69053 for 2,500 feet of various sized metal drainage pipe, couplers, et cetera, in the amount of $23,000. Budget code 003-5110-4554-0000.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption of resolution to approve Barrett Paving to purchase asphalt to pave town road, state contract number 23291 in the amount of $800,000, budget code 003-5112-4750.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption of resolution to approve Seneca Stone to rent paver equipment with operators and tack truck county contract number 5770 in the amount of $158,000. Budget code 003-5112-4750-0000.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption of resolution to approve Donegal Construction Corp. to mill gutters and roads county contract number 5249 in the amount of $37,000. Budget code 003-5112-4750-0000.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption of resolution to purchase a 4-ton hot box asphalt reclaimer budgeted from J&J Equipment in the amount of $42,725 through Sourcewell contract number 080521-KMI, budget code 003-5130-0220-0000.
Second.
Discussion?
Is this replacing a prior piece of equipment, Mr.? Well, okay, all right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed. Wait, before we go on, are they going to, are we trading this one in or are we auctioning that one off? Okay.
Move for the adoption resolution for the loader rental while ours was being repaired to Monroe Tractor in the amount of $5,208. Budget code 003-5110-4400-0000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Quick question, is that already repaired now then? Are we all?
Yes, it just got repaired this past week.
So now you have yours back?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption of resolution to pay Tracy Road Equipment for the repair to the 2016 Hyundai Loader in the amount of $8,575.07. Budget code 003-5130-4335-0000.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption of resolution to rent a sweeper from CNS Sweeping for 6 weeks budgeted in the amount of $27,000. Budget code 003-5140-4400-0000.
Second.
Discussion? Didn't we just buy a sweeper?
We did, but every year we rent two.
Rent a couple more?
Pardon me?
We rent a few more? Another one? We rent another one?
We bought one and we rent one.
Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Thank you.
Move for the adoption of a resolution to approve the purchase of Taser 7 electronic control devices and supporting equipment from Axon to replace the police department's current XP 26 tasers for up to $87,603, paid for through the New York State FY 2024 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program, contract number C633170.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move for the adoption to, move to adopt a resolution to approve the payment of $4,625 to Bush Electronics for the upfit of a 2025 Chevy Equinox, budget code 002-3120-43000000.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move to adopt a resolution to approve the payment of $15,630 to Bush Electronics for the upfit of a 2025 Dodge Durango traffic car, budget code 002-3120-43000000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to quickly say that the chief does a really good job updating us on all of this, so it's never a surprise to us. I feel like we get more communication from him than any other department. I'm always aware of what's going on, and you do a really good job trying to get money for the department so that it's not coming out of our town budget. So thank you.
Move the adoption resolution approving and authorizing supervisors sign a 48-month lease with Toshiba Business Solutions for Toshiba eStudio 4525 AC 45 pages per minute copier for $10,003.84, the Onondaga County contract price, plus ancillary fees and a page overage cost for the town clerk's office, budget code 001-1410-4000-0000. In addition to copying capabilities requested from all vendors, the Toshiba copier includes optical character recognition conversion capabilities as a standard feature that all town hall staff will be able to utilize. This will eliminate the cost for some additional OCR licenses at the town hall. The 48-month copier lease term was reviewed and recommended by the comptroller. 48-month lease copier proposals that did not include optical character recognition capabilities include one from Ed Business Technology, Automated Business Solutions, and Usherwood Office Technology.
Second, I do have a question though. Is the 10,000 per year, is that the total duration? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Or abstain, pass.
Move the adoption resolution approving and authorizing the supervisor to execute a conflict waiver for Bond, Shenick and King, PLLC, to allow the firm to represent both the town of Cicero and National Grid on unrelated matters. The town board members have been provided with a copy of the proposed waiver letter.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Well,
Aye.
wait, we should probably explain what this is about.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, our prior Labor Council, Mr. Catalano, who was with Coughlin and Gerhardt out of Binghamton, left there, went to Bond, Shenick and King. Bond, Shenick and King has been on the opposite side of some cases from the town of Cicero, not anything related to anything that Mr. Catalano will do for us, but because we've been on the opposite side of cases before, it's necessary to execute this waiver.
All in favor?
Aye.
Or abstain, passed.
Move the adoption resolution to appoint Bond, Shenick and King, PLC, as the alternate attorney for the town of Cicero to provide legal services such as 207C claims and labor-related grievance matters for the town. Legal services per the engagement letter, $315 per hour for partners and counsel, $170 to $620 per hour for attorneys, paralegals, and other service professionals, depending on knowledge and experience. These rates will be in effect from March 27th through December 31st, 2025. The board authorizes the supervisor to sign documents related to the agreement.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Or abstain, passed. And I think we come together for a bid for lawn mowing service. Due on the of April 10 a.m.
Oh, we need to make,
Yeah. Yes. We have requirements for, she'll be mowing, trimming. Yeah. Well, we do it for.
I don't know what to say.
Is she have a language for bidding out the mowing at highway?
You want the agreement, or do you want me to just say it? I don't know. You just say you want
Yeah.
to approve a sealed bid, the town board,
Solicit, oh, yeah.
a sealed bid. I thought we decided on April 4th. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Jermaine, let me know if I did this. Move the adoption resolution to solicit sealed bids for lawn mowing services at the town of Cicero Highway Department. What would the date be for the bid?
April 4th at 10 a.m.
Such bids to be opened and read on April 4th, 2025 at 10 o'clock a.m.
Perfect.
Do I need to say anything else? Okay.
The specs are mowing, weekly mowing, preferably on Fridays, line trimming around buildings, fences, signs, trees, and other obstacles, blowing out the sidewalks, driveways, and paved surfaces, remove grass clippings after each service.
I can't second my own.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed. Anybody got anything?
I'll just say that I went to the spaghetti fundraiser over the weekend and I saw Mike there. And it's a great event, large turnout, and I'm very happy that the canteen was able to have such success with it. I understand they ran out of pasta and had to set up more tables. Jamie was telling me when I came in. So Congratulations to you all. I'm glad it was a success.
Anybody here?
Yes, can I?
Sure,
Can
go
I
ahead.
just make mention? It's springtime, so I just have a couple things that I would like to let the public know that the brush flyers have gone out. Our wonderful highway department's going to be doing the brush, and I put some on the back table back there. So we will have those out to all the residents so that everybody will have the schedule for the town, and the new fishing books have come out for fishing. So I've also put those back there, and they're of course in our office. We've been getting a lot of people coming in for that. And then if everyone wanted to mark their calendar, we've got Earth Day coming up. It's going to be on Saturday, April 26th, between 8:30 and 12. We're going to be at the highway department, but you can sign up any groups you want through Okra, and our highway department is going to be accepting it. So if people want to start cleaning up after the long winter that we've had, they're going to be they can drop them off on Friday, actually, Friday and Saturday at our highway department. So it's a great opportunity and time for everyone to clean everything up and then get any debris and stuff to our highway department. Always remember too, our highway department, we get a lot of calls in our office. They have a brush pile there that people can bring their brush to if they don't want to keep it out in front of their yard, and they have a way to get it there, and the metal pile. So just a lot of ways to clean up the area for the spring. Thank you so much, everyone.
Mike, on that note, the brush pile is for residents only, not commercial tree removal companies. We caught a guy today, who must have brought in 6 or 8 loads.
You do have signs up that says,
do have signs.
yeah.
But they say they're calling town hall, and I don't know who they're speaking to, but they say, yeah, you can just bring it to the town hall. And we're getting a lot of contractors coming in. So that brush pile is only for residents.
Do you have cameras over there?
Cameras that sometimes work, sometimes don't.
Yeah, okay, that's something that needs to be addressed. Okay.
Okay. I saw you, Mike. You wanted to come up?
Mike DeVero, Sneller Road, Brewerton. I just wanted to give you my opinion about the county and their plan on allocating 27 million, according to the article, to purchase shovel-ready sites for supply chain. It's material suppliers, gas, chemical companies, other supply chain companies involved in, the semiconductor manufacturing. He goes on to say that they need more sites beyond its existing 105-acre White Pine technology park across from 31. We need more shovel-ready sites, supply chain sites. It's a fact. Without sites, we won't get projects. In my opinion, this could impact the town, where the county starts buying property in our town. I think it's absurd to think that supply chain will only come if the county owns real estate. I don't know what your thoughts are and your opinions, but if there's anything that you can voice a position on this, if you agree with me, I would encourage you to do that, because I don't think it's a good idea for government to be buying property and entering into competition with private developers. I'm not sure why, just because the county owns property, why then would a supplier come in and develop the property as opposed to a private developer owning the property? If the property is a good property, it's going to get developed. So the county entering really just raises red flags to me about control, tax exemptions, and inflationary inflation, which is what's happened around here because of a lot of things that they've already done. So that's my 2 cents. Just give you my opinion. Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, make a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.